Good afternoon. It is 1 o'clock on May 27th. We would like to welcome you and ask you to please rise and join us in our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chair, no line of duty death report today, but I wonder if I could offer just a quick short poem entitled Just a Common Soldier. A soldier died today, Memorial Day weekend.
I remember that from when I was a kid. Go ahead.
Would you like to start? Just a common soldier, a soldier died today. He was getting old and paunchy and his hair was falling fast. I want the public to know and the board to know I'm not necessarily the best at citing poetry, but this is quite a privilege, quite an honor. And he sat around the Legion telling stories of the past, of a war that he had fought in and the deeds that he had done in his exploits with his buddies. They were heroes, every one. And though sometimes to his neighbors his tales became a joke, all his Legion buddies listened, for they knew whereof he spoke. But we'll hear his tales no longer, for old Bill has passed away, and the world's a little poor, for a soldier died today. He would not be mourned by many, just his children and his wife, for he lived an ordinary and quite uneventful life. Held a job and raised a family, quietly going his own way, and the world won't note his passing, though a soldier died today. When politicians leave this earth, their bodies lie in state, while thousands note their passing and proclaim that they were great. Papers tell their whole life stories from the time they were young, but the passing of a soldier goes unnoticed and unsung. It is the greatest contribution to the welfare of our land, a guy who breaks his promises and cons his fellow man, or the ordinary fellow who, in times of war and strife, goes off to serve his country and offers up his life. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, so do we have amendments to the agenda, please? I'm going to be making one. It'll be A, so everyone knows Congressman DeFazio had to reschedule his meeting with us, and his office will be recontacting us to reset that up. Is there anything further?
Nope.
None here, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Council Huddle.
Just for executive session, if we would add 192-660 sub 2 sub H and K, I believe, which is the information exempt from disclosure, as well as litigation and litigation likely to be filed.
Okay, any other amendments? Do I have a motion, please?
I move we approve the agenda as amended.
Second, Mr. Chair.
Further discussion? Roll, please.
Commissioner Gold.
Aye.
Vice Chair Boyce.
Yes.
Chair Pash.
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously.
All right, next we're going to do 3B, which will be approve a $42,000 flexible service maintenance agreement with ODOT Forces to assist with Curry County 2020 chip seal projects and signature authority to Roadmaster Christensen. Mr. Christensen, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Board. The Road Department would like board approval for Roadmaster signature authority for this $42,000 agreement between the county and the state of Oregon for the state to help county forces chip seal our 2020 chip seal projects throughout Curry County. And trucks and truck drivers and a roller operator to assist us.
Okay.
I move that we approve the $42,000 flexible service maintenance agreement with signature authority to Richard Christensen.
Second, Mr. Chair, with discussion.
Go ahead with discussion.
Just thank you for the close, it came up at the last meeting in the form of a compliment with the work that you've done, carried on from other roadmasters. The close relationships with the state of Oregon is really good for the citizens projects, production, and just want to offer that and let the public know that that's something that we're additionally very proud of. Thank you,
Thank you very
Mr.
much.
Christensen.
Further discussion? Roll, please.
Commissioner Gold.
Aye.
Vice Chair Boyce.
Aye.
Chair Pash.
Aye?
Motion carried unanimously.
Can I just ask Rich a question?
Yes, you may.
Rich, can I just ask that you just explain to the public, you sent us an email about the money that you got from FEMA, which shows the hard work you guys did keeping track of all your expenses and submitting for reimbursement. I know it's not an agenda item, but maybe if you could just let everybody know how successful you were, the amount that you got back, or you're getting back from FEMA.
Yeah, I could touch on that. And last year in February, in April, we suffered 2 FEMA storm events, and the county received a lot of damage to our infrastructure with our ditches, our road shoulders, and our roads themselves, and cleanup. And so a lot of the work was delivered by county forces with a large amount of equipment and effort, staff effort to clean the roads, to repair the road shoulders, to repair the ditches, and also office staff. There's a lot of paperwork that goes with all this. And so last week we received $102,000 for 4 of these projects, and previously we'd received another $50,000 for a couple others. And we still have about $1.3 million worth of FEMA projects that we're going to deliver this summer. We're on schedule to, and you know, we're receiving 75% of our costs back on all these projects, but it's been a huge effort for the road department to deliver all these projects on top of our regular workload, but it's part of our strategic plan to help fund the road department. So we were really aggressive on applying for all these funds, and like this interagency agreement with the state to chip seal, that's part of our strategic plan as well, because they're going to have 3 folks helping us this month, but next month we're going to have 11 of our staff assisting them chip seal Carpenterville Road with our equipment. So that's part of us trying to recover from the loss of forest funds, where we lost $3.5 to $4 million a year. And so everything's kind of coming together, and so we're managing a lot more projects and a lot higher workload than I believe we have in the past.
Commissioner Gold?
So bottom line, are you going to be able to come in at a cost less than you were budgeted for because of all of these negotiations with the state, FEMA, et cetera?
No, I mean, the cost is the cost for the oil and the rock and the labor and the equipment, and we're not making any money. The state's not making any money. It's just we're covering each other's costs to do each other's projects.
Are we getting more done as a result?
We're able not to hire a couple people by doing interagency work and not fill a couple positions.
Okay,
We're saving money.
yeah.
I'd also like to say, you know, a lot of this, because we declared the emergency, we became eligible for some of this stuff. And this board, you know, when Mr. Christensen came to me last year and started talking about replacing a lot of the old equipment that he had, you know, this board's ears were open to help do that. And that's one of the reasons he's in the situation he's in right now. How he's going to be able to help do Carpenterville Road is because, you know, we got him that new equipment, and as you can see, it's already paying fruits back to the county. So it's good teamwork.
Thank you. Yeah, all this equipment is helping us be more efficient and effective. We're doing training, and so we're completing more work in a shorter amount of time now, and so that's helping us with this interagency work as well.
And no breakdowns.
No breakdowns.
One more thing I want to ask you, if you could, because we've got a few minutes, and I think the commissioner still may have a couple more questions, but could you give us a quick assessment on Hooskanagan? I know it's down to 1 lane. Have they talked to you and given you any kind of a time frame on when they're going to finish, you know, when that'll be moved on?
No, I haven't been in contact with the state on the Hooskanagan, but I drive it every day, and it looks like they worked 24/7 yesterday, and they look to me like they're getting ready to pave here really quick.
Good.
So, but
Commissioner Boyce?
Thank you. You said a minute ago we are aggressively pursuing some of these grants, and I, you know, 6 months ago you had a part-time assistant grant writer, And, I mean, you don't need to name specific names, but do you have adequate help now? And are you doing that mostly on your own?
We're doing it in-house as a team effort. And so we're aggressively pursuing every opportunity that comes up. And it's created, with this COVID-19 and this increased workload, it's created a lot of stress, but we're dealing with it, we're training, and things are happening. So,
You said stress?
yeah, there's a lot of stress right
Yeah.
now.
Oh, my.
Commissioner Gold?
I just want to make one comment. I'm very impressed with your forward thinking in planning ahead and being able to cut costs as a result. I think we need more of that at this county, and I think that's where we've been missing a lot. So thank you very much.
Yeah, that's part of the strategic plan we have, is to leverage the road funds as much as we possibly can and manage as many projects as we can so we could pay our staff labor through these grants, and we could complete projects at
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, next we're going to,
That's okay. I was just going to say, you always like to shop for a bargain. I'm with you.
next we're going to do a presentation by me, actually. June is Children's Awareness Month. So I have asked that the Board of Commissioners would consider a proclamation entitled "Every Child Deserves a Future." It's a Curry County proclamation, whereas the month of June shall be hereafter celebrated as the month of children's awareness, whereas children reflect our greatest hope as a nation. Therefore, Children's Awareness Month is a time to be spent nurturing and cultivating the joys and treasures of our children. Sharing, caring, and providing leadership will help preserve the stability of our children and their future. Whereas every child deserves to be truly valued and cherished, we have no greater responsibility than to instill the hope of a better tomorrow for our children and grandchildren. This promise will be filled with love, encouragement, support, education, health, and well-being. Whereas when we work together with our children in the spirit of community, confidence, pride, and self-esteem, we will instill in both their lives and our own the greatness that comes from being an American. Every child deserves to succeed, a chance to succeed. And whereas it is important to empower our children to face the future with courage, intelligence, and wisdom, we do hereby gratefully celebrate the gift of our children. Our goal is to increase communicate skills and values between children and their parents, between teachers and their students, between police officers and young impressionable teenagers, between physicians and healthier kids, and their community leaders and children who will be tomorrow's future leaders, and between all levels of our media, in our children, in hopes of reaching out and developing young, productive minds, not destructive ones. Whereas to this end and purpose, we do hereby dedicate the month of June to our children and our grandchildren. We endeavor to participate and reaffirm our commitments to our children, to ourselves, and to each other on this day. Commissioner Boyce?
May I see that, please? And I will gladly give you a motion. So, Mr. Chair, I assume you're going to probably want to do this every June?
Well, yes, we can.
Okay, I move that we pass, the board approve that proclamation honoring children. I appreciate you bringing up kids and grandchildren very much, Mr.
I'll
Chair.
second that.
We have further discussion? Roll, please.
Mr. Gold,
Aye.
Vice Chair Boyce,
Yes,
Chair Pash.
All right?
Motion carried unanimously.
we can get a copy, right?
Sure.
Thank you.
Next we have, so we marked down at 1:15 and 12 seconds on the 27th of May, 2020. We have no public comments. It's the first since I've been sitting here. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wondering, our executive session today is to confer, and the person we're conferring with has got a pressing engagement at 2. I was wondering if we could do that before we do commissioner updates, unless the commissioner updates is brief.
My updates are very brief.
So are mine.
Okay.
I wouldn't count on mine to be brief, so but I can delay it if that's better for the board. Whatever.
Well, if yours aren't going to be brief, then we'll have to delay it.
Well, then let me start, and I'll make it short.
Okay.
I'm going to say at least 5 minutes. Is that okay?
I was hoping we could get this call in at 1:15, so, and I don't know how long this call will last is the issue.
The call right now, I think, is probably...
More important than
Yes.
comments, yes.
I would
Let's do that then. Let's
Appreciate
do
it.
Public,
Okay.
or let's put off our updates till later. And so at this time, we are going to adjourn this meeting. I'm sorry, recess this meeting and go into executive session to consider 1926602A, to consider the employment of a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent, and 2H, through information exempt and litigation likely to be filed. Can't even read my own writing. So we are in recess, and we'll come back after. 2:02 p.m. And we are continuing on from executive session. Staff is to proceed as directed. And now we're going to go back into our regular session. Commissioner updates. Commissioner Boyce.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I followed the COVID-19 pandemic, especially I followed Jackson and Douglas counties pretty closely. Still in those, actually counting Klamath County, which would be 7 in Lane County, we've had 3 deaths in 85 days, and no other hospitalizations in Curry County or the majority of the counties. Jackson County's holding steady. Josephine County's holding steady. Coos County's doing a little better. You mentioned last week Del Norte County, and they had a surge there. But in Curry County, our cases are, again, no hospitalizations. They are doing well for and complete recovery. One was a little child. The second test was a newborn baby, actually. The second test was negative, but it still is required by Oregon Health to stay as a positive case until further notice. Real quickly, AOC, Association of Oregon Counties, on our AOC Federal Land Subcommittee, we're going to remove that committee and combine it with Natural Resources Committee, that's the 7 o'clock Monday morning meetings that we have once a month, and I think that's going to be beneficial. That's with Donnie Boyd, Commissioner from Klamath County, John Sweet from Coos County, and Tim Freeman from Douglas County. Those are our 3 officers. So I think that's a good move, and again, I think it'll be cost effective. Blood donors, this county and all of Oregon needs people to contact the Red Cross. We have a real shortage of blood, and I'm just encouraging citizens that might be hearing me, if you need information on how to do that, contact me through the Commissioner's office. I think that's really, obviously, very important. And then we're going to have our 2020 fire meeting on 4 o'clock. It'll be a teleconference called June 4th. He doesn't know it yet, but our primary speaker will be Mike Robinson from Coos Forest Protective Association, Oregon Department of Forestry. And we'll have the Forest Service represented, we'll have the BLM represented, we'll have several of our 13 volunteer fire department fire chiefs. And I want to read something real quick, Mr. Chair, from Pam Leschak, U.S. Forest Service National Program Manager. 3 small paragraphs. Who would have imagined as we grow wildfire mitigation programs, get work done on the ground, that we'd have the added challenge of a pandemic. But the pandemic won't stop wildfire. Communities will face wildfire smoke threats as they always do. It's unclear how the current situation will impact wildfire response, but it is clear that community wildfire mitigation before wildfire hits is more important than ever. I'm going to repeat that, more important than ever. Within Oregon, Curry County stands to, within the last 4 years, be the highest risk area 3 out of those 4 years. And then added to that, here's an article by Jefferson Public Radio. I'll just read two paragraphs real quickly here. Oregon starting fire season with limited budget. Oregon Wildfire Agency is starting the fire season with a budget that is well below what it's expected to need. It will also need to make even deeper cuts after revenue shortfalls resulting from the coronavirus pandemic. Governor Kate Brown's office has asked all state departments, including the Oregon Department of Forestry, to make an 8.5% decrease to their budgets. So going back to Ms. Leschak from the Forest Service, we know it's unclear how the current situation will impact, that mitigation will help protect their homes, but it will also reduce the burden of firefighters and challenges they might face during fire season. Obviously, the emphasis is look around your homes, get the ground fuel, ask for help, communicate with your neighbors, do everything you can to understand the risk we have. Will we breeze through 2020? We hope so. Is it possible? Certainly. But with the Oregon Department of Forestry down almost 10% in their budget, at least it appears right now, that's one of those things, again, that keeps me up at night. This letter, if anybody's interested in hearing or reading the rest of it, is very informative. Her home is in Colorado, but she is very tuned into Oregon. And the fire teleconference call on the 4th, I'll have that available if anybody wants to join in. One more bit of information from AOC Executive Director Gina Nickel. Commissioner, judges, chairs, and administrators, I know that several of you are in the middle of writing letters to your legislators and Governor Brown regarding allocation of CARES Act funding. As you know, our work can move slowly or rather quickly. I wanted you to be aware of the letter I received late yesterday from Senator Courtney's office, signed by Governor Brown, Senate President Courtney, and House Speaker Kotick. It may affect the content of the letters you write. While this invitation doesn't affect the whole $400 million designated by the E-Board to counties, cities, and special districts, it does give us an opportunity to affect how the remainder of the $200 million after July 29th reimbursements gets allocated. So that figure of $200 million is quite arbitrary at this point in time. As I go to the negotiating table, Ms. Nickel, I would be interested in your input. I will use the attached May 22nd framework as a guideline in addition to population data. One of the key factors will be to see how many dollars are left on the table after the 29th disbursements. In a letter, you will see that Senator Hansel, that's Bill Hansel from Athena, Eastern Oregon, and Senator Jeff Golden. I know them both. Golden is from, I think, very effective. He's a Democrat. Hansel's a Republican. They're working very hard to help rural counties. Jeff Golden. He was a commissioner in Jackson County for a while. Have also been appointed to the committee. I think that's good news for Curry County. Both have experiences as county commissioners. This is a time for us to come together and recommend an equitable distribution solution. So stay tuned. I think we're doing well, and our staff under Director Smelzer has been working very hard to collect data with all the effort they possibly can. Much appreciated. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Gold?
I just have two things. The first thing is kind of associated with what Commissioner Boyce was just saying about the allocation of the CARES Act. AOC and LOC is recommending that there should be a split. There's $500 million left. There should be a split of 60% to the counties, 40% to the cities, with distribution based on population, with a minimum of $250,000 to each county and $50,000 to each city. And I think, bottom line, we need to pursue this. And I know Director Schmelzer has been keeping a list of expenses, which I appreciate. The other thing is the COVID testing. I know there are funds available, and I know that our county is way down in the number of tests that we've performed, and I think our most vulnerable population needs to be looked at further. So those are my comments. Thank you.
I think our testing is at 1%.
Yeah.
Two things I want to talk about. Well, 2.5 things. One is tomorrow we're having a meeting, a telephone conference with the Army Corps of Engineers, and we are meeting with some other federal authorities from Washington, and this was all accomplished through our relationship with NACO. In my trip to Washington, and some of the relationships that we've begun from back there. We are having a conference about the Rogue River and how the Corps cleans it out. We're going to have some of the executives from the Corps. We're going to have one of the executives, I believe, from Secretary Barnhart's office on the meeting as well, and they are going to start to discuss what they're currently going to do, and that is going to be to clean out the port mouth as they normally do with the smaller dredge. But they've also got a budget, we believe, that will clean out the entire rock, gravel, all the gravel from the mouth of the port that runs down the south side to the bridge. They are hopeful to have the money for that to be done in the fall. And then we are also going to begin talks about funding next year to do some work on the Rogue River up to Elephant Rock to try and put the river back in its socket, as they say, the engineers call it. And I'll ask some people from Curry County, this area, to be involved in that. I think people that have lived here all their lives and been on that river would be important to have in those future meetings that will take place, and I will alert some people, including probably Commissioner Boyce, on that as well for a future meeting when we meet with the Corps on how to get the river back in its socket. But those things are, that meeting will be probably, they've told me, probably in the spring. They're just going to try and catch up, but they would like to try and get this gravel bar from the mouth of the port to the bridge on the south side cleaned out, hopefully by fall, and they're trying to get the money allocated to do that, and that would be with a large dredge. Another thing we're working on is, I suppose the other thing I was working on. So
You're not going to go to the north side of Elephant Rock, are you?
Yes. Anyway, a couple other things I wanted to bring up. Everybody's talking about the COVID and the issues that it's facing, that we're facing here. And I just want to, I've looked at all the percentages of different countries around the world. Italy at 14.2%, and these are as of like last Thursday. England at 14.3% mortality, and the United States is only at 5.95, which, for the rest of the world and the amount of cases we've had, I just, I don't agree seeing all of the people on the beaches and the different places in the videos we've seen over the weekend. That to me is crazy. But I would like to say that I think if we continue to be careful and do sensible things and not get too crazy, I hope that the worst of this is behind us. And good luck to these people that are working hard on these antibodies and a vaccine. I would be thrilled to see that in the very near future. So that's all I have on this. We are at this point with nothing further. Going to adjourn this meeting, and then we'll enter into our workshop. We'll take about a 5 or 7 minute break, and we'll go into the workshop. So with that, nothing further. This meeting's adjourned.